Hi guys, welcome back to Litgyan. Let's continue with the questions on Victorian age. The first question is, Reader, I married him is the closing sentence of which novel? A. Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights, B. Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre, C. Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, or D. George Eliot's Janet's Repentance? The answer is B. Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre. Jane Eyre's Reader, I married him, close to the end of her novel of the same name, shows the reversal of roles and the decision-making capacities that the new generation of socially aware women could demonstrate. Who introduced the phrase, the desire for beauty, the love of art for art's sake, into English, deriving it from Theophile Gautier, who had used the phrase l'art pour l'art? Your options are A. John Ruskin, B. Walter Pater, C. Oscar Wilde, or D. John Keats. The answer is B. Walter Pater. Described as the first real art critique, his early concerns were to recognize and preserve architecture in the face of industrialism and to attack the pseudoscience of John Stuart Mill and the economist David Ricardo. Identify the critique. A. John Ruskin, B. Walter Pater, C. Matthew Arnold, or D. Oscar Wilde. The answer is A. John Ruskin. Later, he founded the Guild of St. George, a utopian society which anticipates much of William Morris's utopian writing. Ruskin's importance lies in his considerable influence on late Victorian ways of thinking about art, architecture, and the reclaiming of earlier ideals. His criticism ranged from genuine re-evaluation of painters such as Giotto to all-encompassing critiques of social concerns, which became angrier and more political as he grew older, as for instance in Force Clavigera in 1871-78. Moving on, who wrote under the pen name John Law? A. George Morris, B. Oscar Wilde, C. Margaret Harkness, or D. Elizabeth Gaskell. The answer is C. Margaret Harkness. Margaret Harkness, using a male pen name John Law, took realism to new levels of directness with A City Girl in 1887 and her major novel Out of Work in 1888. Who described George Eliot's Middlemarch as one of the few English novels written for adult people? A. John Ruskin, B. W.H. Auden, C. T.S. Eliot, or D. Virginia Woolf? The answer is D. Virginia Woolf. The following line is from A Woman is a Foreign Land. Your options are A. George Eliot's Adam Bede, George Meredith's Modern Love, Margaret Harkness' A City Girl, or Coventry Petmore's The Angel in the House. The answer is D. Coventry Petmore's The Angel in the House. Who has authored one of the first Visit America books named Domestic Manners of the Americans in 1832? A. Anthony Trollope, B. Francis Trollope, C. Mrs. Craik, or D. Virginia Woolf? The answer is B. Frances Trollope, the mother of Anthony Trollope. The essay Silly Novels by Lady Novelist attacked the lightweight nature of writing by many Victorian novelists. It is an essay by A. George Eliot, B. F. R. Lewis, C. T. S. Eliot, or D. Virginia Woolf? The answer is A. George Eliot. Given here is an excerpt from a novel. You have to identify the novel. Terror made me cruel, and finding it useless to attempt shaking the creature off, I pulled its wrist onto the broken pane and rubbed it to and fro till the blood rained down and soaked bedclothes. Still it wailed, "Let me in," and maintained its tenacious grip, almost maddening me with fear. Your options are A. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, B. Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights, C. George Eliot's Scenes of Clerical Life, or D. John Fowell's The French Lieutenant Women. The answer is B. Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights. This excerpt is from an episode of the novel When Heathcliff Dreams of Cathy. She is beating at his window in Wuthering Heights, a house situated at the top of a desolate and isolated hill, literally at the edge of the normal world. In the novel, the incident is described as if it were a dream, but there is a string emotional and psychological reality to it. It is poised between dream and reality, lucidly capturing the extreme feelings of Cathy. Moving on, John Halifax's Gentleman is a classic tale of a poor orphan boy who reaches the level of gentleman by his own efforts and marries the heroine Ursula March for love. It is a novel by A. Mrs. Craik, B. Mrs. Margaret Oliphant, C. Mrs. Eliza Lynn Linton, or D. Mrs. Humphrey? The answer is A. Mrs. Craik. Identify the work this statement is taken from. The 19th century dislike of realism is the range of Caliban seeing his own face in a glass. Your options are A. Shakespeare's The Tempest, B. Oscar Wilde's preface to the picture of Dorian Gray, C. George Kissing's The Netherworld, or D. Elizabeth Gaskell's Mary Barton. The answer is B. Oscar Wilde's preface to the picture of Dorian Gray. Which novel of Samuel Butler presents a utopian society which is used to satirize Victorian concepts of duty and religion? A. The Way of All Flesh, B. Erewhon, C. Darwin Among the Machines, or D. Life and Habit. The answer is B. Erewhon. It is almost nowhere written backwards. Which of George Moore's novels was banned? A. Esther Waters, B. Martin Luther, C. A Modern Love, or D. All of the above. The answer is C. A Modern Love. A Modern Love is a novel set in Bohemian artistic society. His next novel, A Drama in Muslin, was also banned. In response, Moore declared war on the circulating libraries by publishing two provocative pamphlets named Literature at Nurse and Circulating Morals. In these, he complained that the libraries profit from salacious popular fiction while refusing to stock serious literary fiction. Which of the following works has characters like Mrs. Do As You Would Be Done By and Mrs. Be Done By As You Did? A. Charles Kingsley's The Water Babies, Thomas Hughes' Tom Brown's School Days, Charlotte M. Yonge's The Daisy Chain, or Anna Sewell's Black Beauty? The answer is A. Charles Kingsley's The Water Babies. It recounts the transformation of a dirty chimney sweep Tom into a clean little boy worthy of middle-class Ellie. Moving on to the final question of this video. News from Nowhere is a socialist utopian fantasy set far in the future when all the contemporary ills of society have been superseded after a bloody revolution which takes place in 1952. It is a novel by A. Wilkie Collins, B. Samuel Butler, C. Charles Kingsley, or D. William Morris. The answer is D. William Morris. Morris is in effect proposing an alternative society whose values, the beauty of handicraft, the practical applications of the pre-Raphaelite ideals which Morris had shared earlier in his career, are clearly the opposite of the actual values of the age. That is it for today. You can leave your doubts in the comment section below. Till then, happy learning!